Welcome back with a smiley face. A link of previous episodes is provided into the description of the video. You can also join us on Patreon to listen more unlimited audiobooks like this. You can also visit and shop our ebooks. Luna's Journey. Episode 3. Lily POV. I sat anxiously as Dimitri gathered his thoughts. Or pretended to. I could tell her he playing for time, not wanting to tell me whatever news he had. Finally, he clasped his hands in front of him on the desk and looked straight into my eyes. James is gone. He escaped. My breathing stopped. Did I hear him right? What? I gasped. It looks like he had help. He started going into detail, but I didn't hear a word he said. All I could was stare at him with my mouth agape, unblinking, and frozen. Is this some kind of sick joke? I asked. Dimitri stopped talking and raised an eyebrow. No. Unbelievably, I laughed. My chest heaved with the effort of expelling the sound and tears came to my eyes. Dimitri looked worried, like I'd lost my mind. Are you kidding me? He was in the dungeon for what? Not even 12 hours? What kind of dungeon do you have where people can just get up and walk out? This has never happened before. That's hard to believe. He killed 4 of my men. Shocking. I said sarcastically. Look, I'm using everything we have to locate him and bring him back, and for what? So he can escape again. It didn't take very long the first time around. I shouted. I have protocols to follow. He snapped. He almost raped me. Do you not understand that? Yes, I do. He yelled. His voice echoed off the surrounding walls, shaking the glass on the windows. I know what he was going to do, and I'm grateful I got there before it happened. I never wanted that to happen, Lily. He slammed his hands on his desk, cracking the wood. Tears sprang to my eyes, but not out of fear at his outburst. These were tears of anger, tears of hatred. Hatred for James. I stood and looked Dimitri in the eye. Find him. Because if he finds me first, I won't hesitate this time. I'll kill him. I told him coldly. I watched the color drain from his face as he took in my words. Without another word, I exited his office and made my way through the pack house. I had a destination in mind, and I tried not to think too much as I walked there. When I arrived at the dungeons, I didn't hesitate, just walked through the door and up to a man I assumed to be a guard. Hi. I'm Lily, and I want to look around the cell that James was in. I said. The man gave me a sour look. Nobody goes in without permission from the Alpha. Run along now. I don't need permission from the Alpha, because I'm the Luna. I have the same level of clearance he does. I snapped. His eyes widened as he looked me over. My apologies, Luna. I didn't realize. I don't care. Just show me where I'm going. Pulling out a ring with at least a dozen keys, he led me to a metal door. He scanned his fingerprint and a ding went off, the door sliding open. How did he escape if this place is locked down with that kind of security? I asked. We don't know. We think maybe a guard helped him. Other than us who work here, only the Gamma, Beta, and Alpha can open to the doors. My lips squeezed into a thin line as I considered his words. Are any of the guards missing today? Warriors are checking on that now, Luna. Good. We took a left and after opening a second door, descended a flight of stairs. The air was considerably colder down here, and the smell. Ugh. I followed the guard as I desperately tried not to gag. We passed a few prisoners as we walked, and the looks they gave me made me want to shrink into the nearest wall. It was obvious most of them were rogues, and a few had the audacity to call out loud comments to me. "Pipe down! Or you'll not be getting any meals for a week!" snarled the guard. We continued on for several minutes more until we came to a dark, dank cell that was basically a hole in the wall with bars. Dimitri had said to put James in the smallest cell, and they weren't kidding. "This is it. On it." I let my wolf come forward, sharpening my senses. It made the smell of the dungeon so much worse, but I'd live. Looking through I's eyes, I could see that the cell looked totally normal. Small, dirty, but normal. No bars were bent or broken. I caught a faint whiff of James' scent, hours old. I walked a few feet away, but his scent didn't linger. It was secluded to his cell. How was that possible? "Did you interrogate the other prisoners here?" I asked. "No point. Not like any of them would tell us the truth." "Did anyone see this prisoner escape last night?" I called down the corridor. Silence. "He's right, you know. They won't talk." I said. "Nobody saw anything? Really? Or are you angry that he didn't take you with him?" I called. I walked to one of the cells and peered inside to see an older woman. Her clothes were torn and she was skin and bone. Her hair was matted and her skin was covered with dirt. Regardless, she met my gaze with cold blue eyes. Kneeling down, I said, "Or maybe you're not talking because you think he's going to come back for you. Maybe he made you some sort of promise of freedom in exchange for your silence." The woman lunged for me through the bars and I quickly jumped back. She spit on the ground in front of me. "Nobody saw nothing. Nobody promised us nothing. We saw the boy come in, kicking and screaming we did, and just like that, he was gone. Talking to himself till he up and vanished in the wind." She growled. "That's not possible." I said. "No, Oliver, till 3. He was gone before then." I looked at the guard. Oliver was on night duty. He checked on James as midnight, and he was still here. Next check, he was gone. He explained. I turned back to the woman. "What was James talking about?" "You said he was talking to himself. What did he say?" "Nothing important, nope." "It might be, so tell me." She started pacing the cell, scratching her arms. "Luna this, Luna that." Mad, mad, mad he was. At Luna. At Alpha. Shouldn't have taken his time, he said, yup. She nodded to herself and cringed. Ollie gave him wolfsbane. Screaming, lots of screaming. Then crying. "Luna this, Luna that. Gideon. Alpha would pay." She finished. "Wait, Gideon? Who is Gideon?" I asked her. She shrugged. "Don't know, don't care. Next time Ollie come down, boy was gone." Lovely. Trying not to make a face, I stepped towards her cell. "What's your name?" She stopped pacing and looked at me, the same cold look from earlier. "Margie." "Well, thank you, Margie. You might have really helped me," I said sincerely. She blinked at me, but didn't reply. I took that as my cue to leave, and I did as fast I could. The smell was really getting to me. I'd definitely have to change my clothes. On our way up out of the cells, we ran into Ben and another man. "Hey, what are you doing here?" Ben asked. "Getting information," I said. "But, that's my job," he said slowly. "Well, look at this way. Now you don't have to go down there and deal with the smell. Thank Goddess for that. He muttered as he fell into step with me. Did you find anything? I relayed everything Margie had told me, and what I'd found of James' cell. So, she says he just disappeared? Just like that? Ben asked. Apparently. Who is Gideon? You're asking me? I don't have any idea, Ben. I'm just telling you what she told me. I huffed. Okay, calm down. I'll look into it. And you're sure that nothing in there was touched? The other man asked me. I shook my head. It was still locked. His brow furrowed and he looked away. This is Luke, by the way. He's the Gamma. Ben said. Oh. Nice to meet you, Gamma. Just Luke. Sorry, I have to go. He said quickly, and then he was running out of sight. Okay. Sorry. Seems like he thought of something though. He always does when he has an idea. Probably going to the library. Ben explained. He shook his head before turning to me. I take it you're feeling better today, since you're here playing detective. I'm not playing anything, Ben. It's been less than 24 hours, and that disgraceful excuse for a wolf somehow escaped and is more than likely plotting some way to hurt me or my mate. I wanted answers, and I wanted them sooner rather later. Ben held his hands up as if in surrender. All right, sorry. You're angry, I know. I heard. I gave him a questioning look. I heard about your talk with Dimitri this morning. Oh. He pursed his lips, clearly debating on whether to continue. Just spit it out, Ben. I said. All right. You could have given him a break, you know. As soon as he heard what happened, he was the first one here, the first one to question the guards. And he went out personally and looked for James himself. He went all night looking for the little st. He just got back before he went to find you at breakfast. You didn't need to be so hard on him. His scolding took me off guard. It was the first time I'd heard someone defend Dimitri in such a way, probably ever. He didn't tell me that. I said. You didn't give him a chance to. Ben sighed. Look, Dimitri is my best friend. I know he's rough around the edges, and he's AE. I know he hasn't treated you right since you've been here, but the guy is, well, he's working through too. Stuff you don't know about. Like what? Not for me to say. He's your mate, not me. He'll tell you when he's ready, but you both need to stop fighting each other. Give him a chance, an honest chance. I bit my lip. I don't know, Ben. He groaned loudly. Goddess, why are you both so stubborn? You really are perfect for each other. Punching him in the arm, I said, shut up. Just think about it, Lily. Okay? He's not a bad guy. He's just lost. That was close to what Celeste had said. It threw my argument off, leaving me stumped for a reply. I have other things to think about right now, Ben. I hate to say this, but it's unlikely we'll find James soon. And it would be a lot easier to do all our jobs without our Luna and Alpha constantly being at each other's throats. So my love life affects your ability to do your job. Yes. Yes, it does. I laughed, which earned me a glare. Go away and let me work. Brat. Okay, Banshee. I snickered. Go. Dimitri POV Ben had given me with all the information Lily got. I was impressed that she'd gotten one of our prisoners to talk so easily. Goddess knew, none of them talked to us, not unless there was some sort of pain infliction involved. More impressive was her ambition to go and find answers for herself. I didn't expect it of her, and I never would have asked her to go to that place. The dungeon was specifically designed to be cruel, depressing. A place people were scared to end up in, motivation to not FK up badly enough to end up there. And Lily had gotten some valuable information too. Luke was looking into the possibility of witches being involved, consistently holed up in the library these days. If the rogue was right and James had just vanished, it was a safe bet to say we were on the right track. As it was though, there were no signs of James or any accomplice. All of the guards' whereabouts had been accounted for the night of, and none of the warriors reported anyone crossing our borders. It had been 3 weeks since disappeared and it was eating away at me more and more every day. I needed answers, and was coming up empty. A pack-wide announcement was made announcing James' escape, and I was doing my best to not let panic spread. At first, it had been hard, of course people were frightened. In an attempt to ease minds and worries, I tripled all security detail. I'd also given the warriors double pay for the extra shifts. It was only fair, and my efforts seemed to work. Life seemingly returned to normal around the pack. The exception was Lily, though she wasn't hiding in her room, I caught her looking over her shoulder a lot. She trained, worked with Dara at the hospital, made time for Greta and Hazel. But she was anxious, nervous. I'd taken to watching in on her training, not that she knew it. She was getting better, but nowhere near where she could be. I accepted that I needed to know she was able to handle herself. If I had that security, I could sleep easier. So, for the last several days, an idea had taken shape in my mind, one I didn't really think she would go for. But I was going to try nonetheless. That idea is what brought me here, standing off to the side of the training yard, watching her spar with Clint. As I watched them, I had to admit he was a good fighter. Even I could tell he was taking it easy on Lily, trying not to use his full strength. I'd noticed this a lot, and I also knew that it wasn't helping her. I cleared my throat loudly, smirking when Clint was distracted and Lily landed a punch to his jaw. "Oops! I'm sorry!" she exclaimed. "Apologizing?" That was another problem. Alpha. Clint nodded to me respectfully. "A word you two?" I asked. "Sure. What's up?" Lily replied. She was covered in sweat, little pieces of her hair framing her face. I couldn't help but glance down at her cleavage as she breathed hard from the exertion. My pants were starting to become tight, so I quickly moved my thoughts in a safer direction. "You two will no longer be training together," I stated. "What? Why? You can't stop me from training," Lily raged. "You're still going to be training. Just not with him. You'll be training with me from now on." She blinked at me, her jaw dropping. No. Yes. Starting tomorrow." "Why? Clint is just as qualified to teach me," she argued. "He's a good warrior." I turned to him. "I've been watching you two for a while. You go easy on her. You don't give it your best with her, like you do with the men. You're afraid to hurt her. But an enemy isn't. She needs to learn what it's like to fight for her life, and you aren't teaching her that." "Now wait just a minute." "No, he's right, Lily," Clint interrupted. "I haven't been teaching you properly. I taught you the basics, I got your endurance up. And that's great. But I don't actually want to hurt you. I don't fight you like I do with the other warriors. It's different with you, and I think it's because you're my friend. I don't want to hurt you." "But Clint, it's fine, Lily. We can still do laps and stuff, yeah?" "But I agree with the Alpha. He has more experience anyways. He glanced sideways at me and I nodded. It's settled then. Meet me here tomorrow, same time. See you then. Lily grabbed my arm, and sparks erupted. Clint, can you give us a minute? She asked. Sure. See you. I watched him jog off and then it was just us. She let go of my arm and crossed hers over her chest, effectively pushing her up. She was in a black sports bra and shorts, and the images that ran through my mind looking at her were far from innocent. Why does it have to be you? Why can't it be Ben, or Luke? Because I have the most experience. She scoffed. I'm sure they have just as much as you. Clothes, yes, but I'm still the best. Much? I quickly stepped towards her, catching her off guard. In one swift move, I placed my foot behind hers, causing her to lose her balance as she moved. Before she hit the ground, I caught her with one hand around her waist and one wrapped under her neck. I'm the fastest. The most lethal. The best. There is a reason I'm the alpha. So yeah, I have good reason. I smirked. Not in wolf form. She matched my tone. I almost smiled. Maybe not. You have me outmatched there. I'll train with you, but on one condition. I was inches away from her face, and the sparks from our contact were only making me want her more. These were foreign feelings, but if I was going to train with her, I had to learn to control myself. What's that? We go for a run tonight? Ajax hooped in my head. Deal. I said. Lily smiled, and my heart throbbed. Did I just make her smile? I gazed at her face, all lit up like I'd just given her the best birthday present. It made me feel happy. Was that what this was? When was the last time I felt happy? Dimitri. Hey. Can you let me go now please? Helping her right herself, I took a step back, trying to catch my breath. I wanted to see her smile again. So, after dinner? 7 o'clock. Yeah. She smiled again, and the happiness washed through me. See you then. I watched her walk towards the pack house, my thoughts in a jumble. Thank you. For saying yes. Ajax said to me. You miss her, don't you? I asked. Of course I do. Aya is my other half, just like Lily is yours. I'll let you get together more. Whoa. Wait. You're going to do something nice? Even for me. Shut up. I didn't want to admit it, but letting our wolves spend time together also allowed us to. And I found I was wanting to spend more time with Lily. As I walked to the pack house, I tried to bring back the happiness she'd given me a few moments ago. It was unlike me, wanting to feel something, and I hadn't realized until now how much I missed feeling happy. Carefree. I had become so used to being angry at everything. Anger was an emotion I could deal with, live with. I'd found out firsthand that the things that made one happy could so easily destroy them. Yet, here I was, thinking of different ways to bring Lily's smile back just so I could feel it again. What's got you in such a good mood? I looked up to see Luke walking towards me. What do you mean? You're smiling like an... I was? Hey. Nothing. Just thinking. What's up? I asked him. He fell into step beside me. I think I found something. Go on. I was digging through our volumes on different spells, specifically transportation spells, and I have an idea on how James escaped. I just don't know the motivation behind it. Show me. I mind-linked Ben to meet in my office. Luke ran to the library to get whatever book he'd found. Once we were all assembled, I led us into my office, sitting on the sofa. Lily liked to sit here, though I didn't know why. I'd bought it mostly for decoration, it wasn't even very comfortable. Maybe I'd look into a different one. Hey! Ben snapped his fingers in front of me. Don't do that! I scowled. Where are you today? Luke asked. Nowhere. Here they glanced at each other. Can we get on with it, please? Whatever. Luke muttered. He plopped a thick and very dusty book onto my desk, a cloud erupting from the impact. He flipped to a mark page in the back, running his finger over the script as he read. This says that there are 3 different types of transportation spells. They all do the same thing, but I guess they're for different levels of witches. Okay. I leaned forward, focusing. So, the first one, you need to be close to the person you're spelling, and whole bunch of ingredients. That's unlikely, since nobody was seen coming or going from the pack. This next one is less complicated, it can be done from a distance, but you need either hair or blood from the person. Possible, but still unlikely. And the last one? Ben asked before I could. The last one doesn't need ingredients and it can be done from anywhere. But it can only be performed by really powerful witches. How powerful? I asked. Super powerful. We're talking clan elder powerful. That's what I thought. But what would a clan elder want with James? He's a great warrior, but it would make more sense to take one of us, right? I speculated. I thought that too. But then I thought, it would make sense to take someone who held a grudge. I'm thinking whoever this is doesn't want you, Dimitri, but they want you dead. Everyone else in the dungeon is a rogue. James is a pack member. Who better to give them all the information they want? I think he's right. Ben admitted. Sadly, I thought so too. Dimitri, POV Luke, Ben, and I sat in my office going over every possible reason, theory and hypothesis as to why a clan elder would want me dead. The room was now full of books that Luke had carried down from the library, and we each had our own stack to go through, looking for any other vital information. I myself was trying to remember a time where I might have come into contact with a witch, a clan, anything. I never had. It didn't make sense, not to me anyways. Wolves and witches were enemies, we had been for centuries. According to the book I was reading now, the last time the two groups had anything major to do with one another was in the mid-18th century, when an uneasy truce had been made, both sides keep to themselves and cease any unnecessary bloodshed. I was so absorbed that I totally lost track of time, missing dinner. It wasn't until Lily knocked on the office door and Ben let her in that I remembered we had plans. If you're busy, we can do this another time, she said as she took in the mess of books and papers lying around. No. It'll be here when I get back. Let's go. I stood and nodded to my beta and gamma. Make good choices. Ben called out after us and I shot him the finger. Lily blushed a deep scarlet before hiding her face. So, same place? She asked quietly. Sure. We walked in silence together, not sure what to say. I had lots I wanted to say, but our relationship was unsteady right now. Another fact, I still wasn't sure if I wanted this girl the way a mate should. I was attracted to her, insanely. She was beautiful. Anyone with eyes could see it. It was just too easy to continue with my ways and hold her at a distance. It didn't seem like it this morning. Ajax snickered. You're not helping, you know. I am, you just don't know it yet. You want her, you just don't know how to let her in. What makes you such an expert? Really? My mate loves me. Your mate tolerates you. Just because I'm a beast doesn't mean I don't know how to love. I share things with her, communicate with her. Traits you undoubtedly are lacking in. So, what do you want me to do? Candlelight dinner and stargazing. I scoffed. Lily glanced sideways at me but didn't comment. How about asking her a question first, dumb? Like, her interests or favorite books or something. I pondered his words for a few moments. Maybe I could try. Books? I said stupidly. What? Lily gave me a confused look. I mean, you like books. She raised an eyebrow but thankfully answered. Yes. Good. That's good. Okay. Wow. Ajax was rolling around in my head in complete hysterics. I tried, okay. Yup. Yup, you did. I growled lightly and Lily came to a stop. Ready? She asked. I looked around, we weren't in the clearing like last time, but still far enough away. I nodded and she walked away behind a tree. Taking the opportunity, I stripped out of my clothes and quickly shifted. Shaking out my fur, I waited for Lily to return. When she did, my breath caught in my throat. I hadn't forgotten what she looked like, of course, but it was something else to see it in front of you. She was stunning. Thank you for this. I heard a voice in my head that didn't belong to Lily. So this was her wolf? Right. Yes. You don't need to thank me. Ajax wanted to see you too. Still. Lily is grateful too. Great. I'm going to give control over to Ajax. Have fun, guys. I did as I said, and off they went. Mostly I ignored what was going on, letting our wolves have time together more and less in private. Together they played, ran, and hunted. Ajax was pouting that he didn't have the biggest kill when they took down a herd of passing deer, after all he was an alpha. When I suggested they hunt something more his speed, such as rabbits, I earned myself a growl for laughing so hard. She was as snarky and had just as much attitude as Lily. It was after midnight when our wolves decided to give back control, giving each other a fond farewell. The love pouring through the bond between them made me anxious. Also, a bit jealous. I was happy to let Ajax spend time with his mate, though I couldn't spend time with mine the same way. I tried to keep my thoughts to myself because I knew Ajax would blame me for that outcome. Walking to our clothes, we shifted and dressed. Lily was smiling when she emerged from the trees, and I was overcome with emotion. That was fun. Thank you so much. She grinned at me. Yeah. No problem. Her smile faltered and I wanted to smack myself. Clearing her throat, her eyes wandered around the forest. So I was thinking. Yes. We should probably make me an official member soon. I can mind link you, when in wolf form, but I can't at all. She studiously ignored my gaze as she talked. The scene with James flashed in my mind. How different would that have played out if she had been able to mind link someone for help? Even if it wasn't me, someone would have gotten to her. That sounds like a good idea. I'll arrange it. Okay. Thanks. I nodded. Silence fell. Well. I'll see you tomorrow. I said awkwardly. "'Kay. Good night, Lily." Her eyes met mine. Good night. Forcing myself to turn and walk away went against my other instincts. I wanted to walk with her back home, make sure she got there safely. Still, I left her standing behind me, a thoughtful look on her face. It made me wonder what she was thinking about, and if it was about me. Was it bad or good? Sneaking a peek over my shoulder, I was disappointed to see her walking away, taking a different route back to the house. I broke from the tree line, decidedly in a bad mood. Too many thoughts and unfamiliar feelings were washing through me. So it came as no surprise that my mood worsened considerably when I bumped into Jenine. Literally, into the back of her. "Oh Dimitri! There you are!" she gushed. "What are you doing out here, Jenine?" It was almost 1 in the morning. "Oh, you know me. I'm a night owl. I couldn't sleep, so I went for a run." Her eyes sparked with anger. "Good for you." I attempted to step around her, but she blocked my path. "Can we talk for a minute?" "Nope." I sidestepped, but she blocked me again. This was testing my patience. "Move. Now." I growled. Placing her hand on her hips, she gave me a cold glare. "I just want to know, for certain, that it's really over between us." I blinked. Was she for real? I'd slammed her head against a wall and yelled at her. How much more clearly could I be on the subject? There was nothing between us. Like I said before, I needed to get laid, and you were easy. End of story. There was no real relationship, Jenine. Well, if there was nothing between us then, maybe there can be now. She purred. Her hands moved up my arms and landed on my shoulders. Pressing her body into mine, she batted her fake eyelashes at me. The urge to throw her off, preferably into a tree, was almost overwhelming. As it was, I did remove her hands and gave her a light shove away from me. "Don't touch me. This is ridiculous, Dimitri. I know you never even wanted a mate. But apparently that changed just because she's some super wolf." My head snapped up. "Were you following us?" "No. I just happened to come across you and your mate." "That's why you left me?" "She might have some powerful wolf, Dimitri, but she is not Luna material. She's nothing but a worthless piece of shit enough." I snarled. My alpha voice came out and Jenine's eyes widened in fear. Closing the distance between us, I towered over her. "I told you before, you will not disrespect her like this. Whatever ideas you have about you and I are not up for debate. There is nothing between us, there is never going to be anything between us. I don't want you, I don't love you. I wouldn't choose you, even if Lily hadn't come into the picture. As for what you classify as Luna material, take a good long look in the mirror, Jenine, because it's not you. Make me repeat myself again, and you won't like what happens. Do I make myself clear?" She nodded mutely and I finally stepped around and stormed away. How could one person be so dense? Jenine POV watching Dimitri walk away from me was infuriating. How could he be so stupid? Lily was clearly manipulating him. And what he said about not loving me, did that mean he loved her? No, no way. I'd hate to be the mate bond. It was clouding his judgment, making him feel things that weren't really there. He was living in a fantasy world. I wanted to scream and rage, but I was taught better than that. I was better than that. Like Mother always told me, hide your true feelings, and play the game smarter than your opponent. You will always win with a poker face. So that's what I did. The problem was, Dimitri was just as smart as me, maybe smarter. He wasn't alpha for no reason. But, he was ruining everything. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd schemed for. When we first met, he was seeing some low-life hippie chick, Giselle. Sure, she wasn't a troll, but she wasn't me. And I needed it to be me at his side. So, a few bottles of tequila and some light nudging later, Dimitri had conveniently walked in on her another guy. In his office too, the cherry on top of the cake. As far as I knew, nowadays Giselle hardly showed her face in the pack, always holed up at home. Good riddance. And just like Giselle, I'd gotten rid of a lot of women over the years before he finally noticed me. Each time we saw each other, I gave it my all. I laughed at his jokes, flirted with him, made sure to look my absolute best. When we started sleeping together, I was sure it wouldn't be long before he made me Luna of the pack. I was better, stronger, more qualified than anyone else to lead Blood Moon at his side. My parents were overjoyed, of course. Me being Luna opened up a whole new world for them. They would no longer be middle-class citizens here, no, people would have to start showing our family the respect we deserved. My relationship with Dimitri was the longest he'd ever had. Every pack gathering, my father would drop subtle hint after hint about how our pack needed their Luna. How it would make us stronger, the absolute best. I truly believed Dimitri was close to making it official with me, to giving me everything I wanted. Then he went to Snow Moon. He came back different. I greeted him just like usual, but he'd brushed me off. It lasted for several days, and then out of nowhere, he brings his new wife and Luna home. I was horrified, though not as much as my parents. It's not over yet. So he has a mate, so what? He clearly prefers you. Look at her. She's nothing compared to you. My mother had vented. Bring him back, Jenine. While him, use all the tools at your advantage. We need you to be in her place, and soon. Don't hold back, my father had said. Groaning, I threw my hands up. It hadn't been such a hard task until now. Who could have predicted that Lily would turn out to be a mother wolf? They weren't even supposed to exist. How glad I was that I'd found out sooner rather later. The original plan was to wait until Lily was made Luna, officially, then challenge her for the Luna position. By law, Dimitri would have no choice but to accept me then. Now, that couldn't happen. I had no chance, none whatsoever, against a mother wolf. Pacing in a circle, my mind turned out idea after idea on how to get rid. There had to be some way I could use this to my advantage. I replayed every story I'd ever heard about Lilith Wolf, analyzing every aspect, every version. Mother wolves were supposed to be all-powerful, huge, and beautiful. Suddenly, my feet came to a standstill and a smile started to spread across my face. A tiny village lay on the coast, ripe with cloths of gold and food for trade. It was a prosperous place, filled with child's laughter and music by night. Until one day, the skies grew cloudy. Thunder shook the homes of the happy villagers. Over the hill, beyond the forest lay a mother wolf, greedy for riches and thirsty for blood. My mother's voice rang in my head with the memory. What did she do, Mama? I'd asked timidly. Dear, she tore through the village and shed innocent blood. The white coat that shone so beautifully was stained in the lives she took that day, her mouth full of the cloth of gold and belly full of the food she stole. Music played no more, and children's voices were silenced forever. This is what happens when the mother wolf comes. The wealthiest and kindest are slaughtered out of greed. A mother wolf cannot be tamed, and we pray every day the moon goddess does not send one to us. Now I knew such stories were told to keep kids from behaving badly. If we acted out, our parents would threaten to send the mother wolf on us. They were dangerous, uncontrollable. And it was just the type of fear I needed to get rid of Lily. I'd have to plan it carefully though, no mistakes. I could not afford for this to go wrong, it could cost me everything. Making sure I was alone, I stripped down and shifted into my wolf, Nia. She was a unique blend of black and white, and strong. She was born to be a Luna, a leader. Gingerly picking up my clothes in my teeth, I took off to the west end of the pack, cutting through yards and scheming through the trees. Conor. You awake? I sent out a mind link. Sort of. What do you want? Was his groggy reply. I'm on my way over. This news perked him up. Oh yeah? Doors open. Don't bother getting dressed. I rolled my eyes. Conor was handsome, but he was no Dimitri. He was a means to an end, that was all. Still, I used my best flirting tone, of course not. When I reached his house, I shifted back, quickly making my way inside. Conor's scent was heavy with arousal as I made my way to his room. Hey babe. He was lying on his bed, naked. The sight of his heart had me clenching my thighs together. As a warrior, Conor was fit and toned in all the right places. And he knew just what I liked. It was a shame he was naive, it made using him like this too easy. Hey! Well? Come here. It's been ages since you came over. I laughed as I crawled on the bed, sitting on his legs. You can't blame me. It was a little tense last time I came over, remember? I ran my hand down his abs as I spoke. Where is Silvia, by the way? At her parents' still. He rolled his eyes. Says she can't forgive me yet. I pouted. You want her forgiveness? I thought you enjoyed my company more. Well, I kind of need it. You have no idea how annoying this is. Every time she cries, I feel it. It distracts me from training. Oh, your poor mate. I snickered. Maybe you should go make it up to her. I can think of something I'd like to do more, right here, right now. And poor Silvia won't walk in on us again. Babe, I couldn't care less if she did. Maybe she'd see what a real woman does to please her man. I smirked. Like this. I started stroking him. His eyes became hooded with lust, his breathing deepening. Yeah, like that. Slowly, I bent down and licked his tip. He hissed at the contact before I took him in my mouth. I stroked him while I bobbed my head up and down, rolling my tongue around his sentinel spots. Enough, he said. Grabbing my hair, Conor yanked my head up. The next moment, I was on my hands and knees with him behind me. He entered me roughly, grabbing my hips. Oh baby! I moaned. Best pussy around. He grunted. It's so well, I hated to stop it. But I needed him at my whim if I wanted his cooperation. So I pulled away, much to his disappointment. Pushing him back, I climbed onto his lap. His eyes rolled back and I smiled. You feel so good. He sighed. Yeah? How good? Better than anything I've felt. Leaning down to his ear, I softly bit on the mark left by his mate. Conor tensed, his grip on me tightening. Jenine, don't you wish it was my mark there? I asked softly. What? Nothing. Never mind. I ducked my head, pretending to be embarrassed. No, look at me. What did you say? I peeked at him through my lashes. It's just. I know she's your mate, Conor, but. I mean, we could be so happy together, you know. He gaped at me, shocked. Like I said, never mind. I started moving my hips, grinding against him slowly. I could see the wheels turning in his head, thinking my words through. How? He asked suddenly. How what? How would that work? You want me to reject her? I feigned surprise. Would you do that? Could you do that? He thought about it for a minute. Yeah, I think I could. For you. I smiled widely. Really? He slammed into me, making me gasp. Yes. I'll do it tomorrow. And I want you here tomorrow night. I want to experience what it's like to be with you, without being held back by this stupid bond. Oh, okay. I couldn't believe how easy my plan had worked. How quickly he agreed to reject his fated me for me. It was only going to get easier from here. Watch your back, Lily. You have no idea what's in store for you. Lily POV. I was nervous. Juggling my water bottle between my hands, I waited for Dimitri to join me in the training yard. I'm not proud to admit it, but I took more time this morning picking out an outfit and fixing my hair than I ever did. I'd settled on a high ponytail and a green sports bra and black leggings. I felt way too exposed, but I couldn't train in a t-shirt and jeans, could I? I'd been waiting 20 minutes, glancing in the direction of the pack house every few seconds. I had no idea what training with Dimitri was going to be like, but I was positive it would be much different than training with Clint. Hey! A loud, echoing scream left my lips and I spun around. Dimitri held up his hands and took a step back. Calm down, it's me. My hand was placed over my chest, my heart beating rapidly. Where did you come from? He pointed to the forest on the other side of the yard. Why? I gasped. Hey! You were supposed to come from there. I pointed towards the pack house. A look of amusement crossed his face. I go for a run every morning. It's not a big deal. You scared out of me. Sorry. He smirked. Ready to start? My heartbeat picked up double time. Sure. You don't sound sure. I rolled my eyes. Just start. Fine. 50 laps to start, let's go. He took off towards the track and I followed. He seemed impressed as we ran, probably because he knew I could barely walk the stairs when I first came here. That was good, he said when we finished. I gave him a thumbs up as I chugged my water. Wiping my mouth I asked, what's next? Sparring. My jaw dropped. With you? Yes. What did you think we'd be doing? But I can't spar with you. Why not? I waved my hand up and down his body, giving him a look. You can't spar with me because I'm hot. My cheeks flushed and I gave him a dirty look. He returned it with an innocent one. No, jackass. I can't because you're going to kill me. I thought you were going to teach me how to fight, well, not by fighting you. How else are you going to learn? Dimitri, you're at least 150 pounds of muscle heavier than I am. I won't be standing after one hit. How am I going to learn anything if I end up in the hospital? I demanded. His expression softened. I would never hurt you like that, Lily. But you told Clint I know. I won't go easy on you, but you don't need to be afraid either. I won't hurt you. I searched his eyes, looking for any hint that he was lying. He seemed sincere though, which eased some of my worry. Okay. He said. Okay. Come on. He led me to one of the mats laid out on the yard and ran me through the basics. Most of it I'd already learned, though he did give me some pointers on my stance and positioning. When he took the side opposite me, I gulped. You couldn't even blame me, he was a very intimidating opponent. Taking a fighting stance, I nodded at him. The next thing I knew, I was on my back on the ground, my breath whooshing out at the impact. What? Whoa! I croaked. Sorry. You good? I took his offered hand, ignoring the sparks. Once my breathing regulated, I groaned. Yup. I quit. I sighed. Quitting will get you nowhere. Dimitri replied. Say that when you have to fight you. He chuckled, the sound foreign to my ears. Had he ever laughed with me before? You just need to focus. You're tense, nervous. You have advantages, you just need to know how to utilize them. The only advantage I have is being a huge wolf. Shifting isn't always possible. That's not the only thing you have going for you. You're a small human. He said that like it was a good thing. How is that an advantage? I asked. There's a warrior here, Carla. She stands around 4 foot nothing. You know why she's one of my best? I shook my head. Because nobody can get their hands on her. I've seen that woman duck under grown men's legs. Hey! I didn't know you had female warriors. I don't have a lot, but the ones I do have more than earned their place in the ranks. Can I train with them? I asked eagerly. He rubbed his chin, thinking it over. I'll ask Carla to join us a few times a week. But your main partner is going to be me. Now, get ready. I groaned again, but got in position. This time, I managed to dodge his first attack, but he had me pinned a minute later. We kept at it until I begged for a water break. Every part of me was sore, and I deeply regretted not taking a firmer stand against this idea of his. You're doing really well. I cheered for me. You're not the one out here. No, but I think I have an idea that might help. Well, it was Ajax's idea. Do tell. Are you forgetting we're a werewolf? I frowned, confused. How could I forget that? It was the only reason I'd been able to make it this long against Dimitri. Finally, what she was saying clicked, and I grinned. Tell Ajax I owe him one. Break's over. Dimitri called. Setting my water down, I joined him on the mat. While he took his position, I focused on my wolf, letting her come forward. My senses sharpened, my muscles tightening. I waited and focused on Dimitri, analyzing his moves. His left foot dangled backwards and my instincts told me he was getting ready to charge. A second later, I twisted out of his way, sending my elbow into his side. I sent a sharp kick to the back of his knee, satisfied when his leg buckled. He was up in no time, grabbing for my arm. Twisting it behind me, he tried to lock me in a choke hold. I ducked at the last second, aiming a kick to his stomach which he blocked. Using his grasp on my arm, I yanked him towards me, catching him off guard and causing him to lose his grip. Sidestepping, I twisted my body behind his, readying a punch. Just blocking it, he brought my arms to my sides, holding them there. We were both breathing hard, bodies flushed against one another. Dimitri gazed at me with admiration, surprise, and something I couldn't identify. That was excellent, Lily. I yipped. Where did that come from? Dimitri asked at the same time. I shrugged. You told me to focus. Aya helped me focus. You used your wolf. Is that not allowed? His hands slid down my arms, coming to rest lightly behind my back. No, it's great. It helps a lot actually. Clears the mind, helps you see things more clearly. Great job. I smiled hugely. When he returned it, my heart burst into sprint. It was the first time he'd smiled at me without any hint of sarcasm or underlying anger. He was gorgeous. Forcing myself to stop staring at him, I asked, "Are we done for today?" He didn't answer, forcing me to meet his eyes again. "Dimitri. Yet, we're done for today." He let me go, taking a few steps away. "All right. I'm going to shower." His eyes darkened and returned to normal so quickly, I was almost sure I'd imagined it. "I'll find Carla, see if she can be here tomorrow." "Great." Why did all our conversations end so awkwardly? Giving him a wave, I turned and started walking home. I was all sorts of riled up, and I thought it had a lot to do with the amount of physical contact between Dimitri and I today. The sparks from our bond were very distracting at times. Still, I think I preferred training with him. I learned a lot, not that Clint wasn't a good teacher, but Dimitri was better. At least thanks to Clint, I hadn't started from scratch today. I'd have to thank him for that later. All in all, I was proud of myself. I focused on that feeling, instead of the way it felt to have his arms around me. I liked it more than I was willing to admit, even to myself. For a second, I was sure he wanted to kiss me. The look in his eyes, would he, if I hadn't said anything? Did I want him to? And, more importantly, was I ready for that? I looked over my shoulder, only to catch him staring at me intently. I blushed and looked away. Shoving my troubled thoughts aside, I focused on getting inside to a much-needed shower. "Lily POV, what's gotten into you?" Hazel and I were having lunch at our usual table, but she'd barely eaten anything. Mostly, she was just moving the food around with her fork. "I don't know. I just don't feel right." She frowned. "Maybe we should go see Thera," I suggested. She shook her head. "No, I don't feel sick. I just feel not right. Too much cake last night." "Maybe. Yesterday was Hazel's birthday, and she finally got her wolf, Lupe. I'd never seen her so happy, and she spent most of the day getting to know her. I'd asked Greta to make her favorite carrot cake, and we'd had a small get-together at her parents' house. Thera had come along, but Clint had been a no-show. Extra training due to the double shifts put in place by Dimitri. Still, it had been fun, and she seemed fine yesterday. "Is it hot in here?" "Not really." The woodsy scent hit my nose, and I looked up to see Dimitri entering the room. He nodded at a few people while making his way to get his food. Our eyes met, and I quickly looked down. Our training sessions were becoming more and more difficult. I kept finding myself in compromising positions with him during our spar sessions, which did not help me to focus. This morning had been especially embarrassing. Carla, a cute blonde with a wicked sense of humor, was trying to show me how to use Dimitri's size against him. In my attempt to take him down, I'd somehow ended up on top of him, his hands grasping my waist. Carla had had to clear her throat 3 times before we remembered she was there. It didn't help that Carla teased me endlessly about it throughout training. Just thinking about it made my blush deepen. Suddenly, I felt a hand on mine. "Lily, I think I do need to go. Something's wrong." I was instantly on my feet. "Let's go." Shakily, she stood and I guided her around the table. She was covered in sweat and trembling all over. "Goddess, I think I'm going to be sick." Hazel moaned. "Just stay here. I'll get Thera, and bring her back." We'd made it only 3 feet before I made her sit down again. I looked around, hoping Thera was in the cafeteria. My eyes caught Dimitri's instead, he was looking between me and Hazel, clearly wondering what was going on. I didn't have time to explain it to him though. Reassuring Hazel once more, I rushed through the room and nearly collided with Clint at the doors. "Oh good, you're here. Can you stay with Hazel? I have to go find Thera," I said to him. He didn't answer me, or even look at me. He was staring behind me, a look of pure wonder on his face. "Clint? Excuse me." He stepped around me, almost running. My eyes nearly dropped from their sockets when he pulled Hazel up from her seat and kissed her. The whole room had gone quiet, and then erupted in loud clapping and cheers. It took me a second to realize that Hazel had found her mate Clint. In hindsight, I should have known, I'd felt the same way before seeing Dimitri. A huge grin broke out on my face as I joined in the clapping. When they broke apart, both had equally big grins on their faces. "My, what is all the ruckus?" Greta appeared beside me. I pointed to my friends. "They're mates." "Oh my! How wonderful!" She nudged me lightly. "As you kids say nowadays, I totally called that." She laughed and I had to laugh too. I glanced over at Dimitri. A small pang of jealousy resonated in my chest, but I pushed it aside. I was happy for my friends, even if my mate's situation wasn't as easy as theirs. Hazel and Clint made their way to me, still smiling goofily. "Congrats guys! I'm so happy for you," I told them. "Thanks Lily. We're a little surprised, but happy too," Hazel said. "You two let me know when the wedding is, I'm making the cake." Greta winked and we laughed. "We wouldn't get anyone else, Greta," said Clint, and Hazel blushed adorably. "I can't believe it. My two best friends are mates," I exclaimed. "Congratulations Clint, Hazel." Dimitri's voice sounded beside us. "Thank you Alpha," Clint replied. He tucked Hazel into his side and kissed her head. It's not often I actually get to witness my pack members finding their mates. It's really something to see the happiness on both your faces. He glanced at me. I had a feeling. "I'm glad the moon goddess picked this one for me," Clint said, and I internally awed. "Yes. Well, congratulations again." Dimitri offered them a small smile before leaving with his tray of food. "He's not very good with expressing himself, is he?" Hazel asked as she looked after my mate. "No, not really," I said. "I'm sorry I had you worried." I waved my hand. "You have no idea how relieved I am that it was this and not something worse." They were both shifting awkwardly, and I laughed. "For goddess sakes guys, just go. You don't need to hang around here for me. Go do whatever it is you want to do with each other." The look of relief they gave me made me laugh again. Holding hands, they practically ran out of the room. Yet, I wasn't going to be seeing either of them for a while. Even I knew that newly found mates couldn't keep their hands off each other. It was nothing short of a miracle that I'd managed to keep myself in control this long. But again, my situation was different. "And it's not like you haven't fantasized about our mate almost every night," I chimed in. "Oh shush." Leaving my food behind, I made my way to the stairs. I'd started a new book recently, and since my friends were busy, I might as well try to binge read. Unfortunately, I ran into my least favorite person on the way. I decided to ignore Jenine's existence, but I guess that just couldn't happen. "You must be so happy for your friends, Luna," she commented sarcastically. She was sitting on the stairs, clicking away on her phone. "I am actually. Bye now." I guess Hazel gets a higher rank after all. Mum. And this time, she didn't have to lie and whore around for it. I stopped on the third step, spinning to look down at her. What is your problem, Jenine? Why do you have to be so hateful to everyone? Who said I had a problem? Your attitude was a major clue. Jenine stood, taking a step up so we were eye level. I crossed my arms, showing her I was intimidated. You have no idea how I can be. She sneered. I rolled my eyes. Am I supposed to be scared of you or something? If you were smart, you would be. Wow. Did you get that from some lame villain in a movie? Who's the real villain here? I'm a member of this pack, you're a lowly slave pretending to be a Luna. This pack will crumble with you at Dimitri's side. Whatever. I turned away, she wasn't worth my time. If I were you, I'd watch my back. She said. Looking over my shoulder at her I said, is that a threat? Jenine simply smiled, oddly reminding me of a gargoyle, and walked away. That girl had major issues. Lily POV. I'd finished my book hours ago, and was now currently in the middle of the sequel. I'd never had time to read like this at Snow Moon, it felt great. A light breeze carried through the room from the open balcony doors, the curtains swaying gently. The scent of the forest breezed through the room, only enhancing my relaxation. Totally absorbed in a world full of dragons and adventure, I was rudely shocked out of my euphoria by a piercing, agonized shriek. Throwing my book to the floor, I was out of bed and racing to the double balcony doors. I stepped out and surveyed the area. A group of people were gathered some distance away, forming a circle. It looked to be mostly men, maybe the warriors. Had there been an attack? Retreating inside, I ran through the house, yanking the door open and jumping down the steps. I had no idea what to do in these situations, but I was Luna, was it not part of my duty to the pack to try and help? I felt a hand grasp my arm, pulling me to a stop. You don't want to go over there. It was Luke. Why? What happened? Is someone hurt? He nodded. Then I need to be there. I yanked my arm away and made my way to the group. I vaguely recognized some of the warriors, they worked out in the gym a lot with Clint and me. I pushed my way through the tightly packed bodies, coming to stand in front of a scene that confused me. I'd been prepared for blood or a maimed body due to a rogue attack. At the very worst, a corpse. What I did not expect was to see a tiny brunette kneeling before a man, crying her heart and soul out. Was he hurting her? Why hadn't the warriors stepped in? Gazing around at their faces, it seemed nobody had any inclination to step in. Before I could demand that someone explain this to me, the man spoke to the woman on the ground. Accept it. I will not change my mind, it's better if you just accept it now. Please, Conor. No. Accept the rejection. He growled. My mouth flopped open in shock. He'd rejected her? And he'd done it in public too, as if the act wasn't already humiliating enough. A surge of anger burned through me and I instantly stepped out of the crowd and towards the poor girl on the ground. That's enough. I said. Who are you? The man, Conor, asked me. I straightened my shoulders and met his eyes. Lily. Luna Lily. I answered. Conor rolled his eyes. Hate to break it to you, Luna, but you don't have the authority to stop a rejection. Perhaps not, but I do have the authority to tell you to take it elsewhere. All she has to do is accept it, and it'll be done. He looked down at his former mate. But no, you have to make a big scene as usual, right, Silvia? He scoffed. Did you not hear me? I said that's enough. You have no right to embarrass this poor girl in front of so many people, your peers and fellow warriors at that. This could have been done privately. So it's you who wanted a show, not her. I spit. Murmurs erupted in the crowd, a few people nodding in agreement. Conor simply shrugged. His attitude was annoying me off more and more. I kneeled down beside Silvia, putting my hand on her shoulder. Honey, you don't need someone like him, mate or not. I'm so sorry he did this to you, this way. I think it's best if you accept his rejection now. You can move on. I told her gently. How? She whimpered. With my help. I'm your Luna, I'm here to help you, to care for you. And I will, I promise. It was the first time I'd announced myself as Luna so publicly, but I didn't shy away. It felt weird, still, but this girl needed me right now. Silvia met my eyes and I nodded reassuringly. Her face was tear-stained, but still pretty. Adorable brown eyes framed by long lashes and a light spread of freckles across her pale cheeks. She had an innocent, open face and my heart broke for her, for the fact that she had been mated to such a piece of garbage. She turned to Conor, not really looking at him. I, Sylvia Thorne, Omega of the Blood Moon Pack, accept your rejection. She whispered. She clutched her chest at same time Conor did. The aura surrounding them tensed, the air feeling thicker. And then it broke. Sylvia released a long breath, wiping her eyes. Are you okay? I asked. She shook her head. I helped her stand, then located two men I recognized. You too. Take her to Dr. Carlos at the hospital. Tell her I sent you, and she's a top priority. They stepped forward and nodded. Right away Luna. The crowd parted, letting them leave. From the corner of my eye, I saw Conor pushing his way through people. Not so fast. I stopped him. I'm not done with you. Excuse me. You think your actions have no consequences? I have the right to reject my mate, just like anyone else. You can't punish me for that. Not those actions. Doing it like this. I spread my hands, indicating the curious crowd. What is your rank? I don't have to answer to you. He spit. Oh, yes you do. Luke came to stand beside me. She is the Alpha's mate, and you're Luna. And she asked you a question. I'm a warrior. Conor replied grudgingly. I figured as much. Crossing my arms, I said, as of this moment, you aren't. I'm demoting you to. I had no practice doing stuff like this. I fumbled around in my head, trying to think of a suitable punishment that went along with the horrible choice he made today. An idea popped into my mind, one I liked very much. Actually, I'm not demoting you. Conor raised his eyebrows at me. From now on, part of your duties will include catering to the other warriors. They want water? You fetch it. They need equipment replaced? You do it. I stepped closer to him, looking him straight in the eye. If they need someone to wipe the sweat from their brow, you will do it. And only you. You can't do that. He raged. I can. And I just did. I'll never get any training done. I'll lose my position. That's not my problem. You should have thought about that before. And I hope it's just as humiliating for you as this was for your mate. Former mate, I should say. Conor looked like he was seconds away from having smoke blow out his ears, but I wasn't backing down. A few of the fellow warriors could be heard snickering, earning a glare from him. When he looked back to me, the hate radiating from him was almost palpable. "You'll regret this," he hissed. "Did you just threaten your Luna?" Luke demanded. Completely ignoring the question, he turned and shoved through the crowd. "Okay, show's over, folks. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Move along now." Luke discharged the spectators around us and I finally felt myself relax a little. When it was just us, I asked, "Was that okay? I'm not officially Luna yet." "You did great, kid. I'm honestly super impressed. You gave him a harsh, but fitting, punishment." Luke clapped me on the shoulder. "Do you think Dimitri will be mad?" "Nah, I doubt it." I narrowed me eyes at him. "You already told him, didn't you?" Luke laughed lightly. "Caught me. What did he say?" I played with my fingers nervously. "He said it's not the type of punishment he would have thought of, but he's impressed that you did. He said you did a really good job." Relief washed through me. "Really? Would I lie to you?" A smile spread over my face. It died soon after as I remembered the other party involved. "I'm going to check on Silvia, make sure she's doing all right." "Sounds like a good plan. I'll see you later." "Oh, and Lily." I looked over my shoulder. "Yeah. I think you did a good job too. I'm proud to call you my Luna." He bowed slightly and I blushed. "Thanks, Luke." Dimitri POV. I'd been patrolling the borders, examining the areas that were lacking in security, when Luke had mind-linked me. At first, I wondered why this my problem, people rejected each other every day. It was when he started giving me a play-by-play of what was happening with Lily and the others that I paid attention. She handled it perfectly, and admittedly, skillfully. Myself, I would have simply stuck to demoting Conor. He was only in the ranks because of his father anyway. The man badgered me forever until I finally accepted Conor as a warrior. Generally, he was lazy and unnecessarily smug, not a very valuable asset. Lily's punishment was something I knew he would without a doubt hate. I was proud of her. Turns out she could be quite wicked, when she wanted to be. I could feel that my Gamma was proud of her too, and I was glad he approved of her so wholeheartedly. Ben too, in fact. It seemed she had a knack for drawing people to her, gaining their respect and love. She was going to make a great Luna for this pack, she already was. "She reminds me of your mom." "Oh, man. Gross. Not like that, dumb. The way she puts the pack first. And her kindness. She's a good person at heart, just like your mom was." "Yeah, I can see that. Speaking of, when are you thinking of holding the ceremony?" "Soon. Probably this week, I've put it off too long. Other has been going on." "Exactly. So, the sooner, the better." My phone buzzed in my pocket, alerting me to a text. I glanced at it, thinking, I should get Lily a phone. True, we hardly used them, since mostly everyone preferred to mind-link. I only had one as a way to contact alphas outside of the pack if I wasn't in the office. Still, I should have thought about getting one for earlier. With that line of thinking, I wondered for the first time if there was anything else she needed. I'd made sure she had the necessities, but didn't girls like to go shopping? Did Lily? Was there things she needed or wanted that I hadn't thought of before? Like makeup or some like that? Ah, look who's starting to care about others. Ajax cooed. Should I ask her? Or maybe talk to Thera? I'd talk to your sister first. She spends more time with her, she might know what Lily needs. I checked the time. There wouldn't be done work for hours still. Hey, you busy? I mind-linked her. I have a minute. What's up? Can you meet me later? I want to talk to you about something. Sure. I should be done by 6. Meet at the fountain. Sounds good. See you later, brother. I spent the next hour surveying the area, taking notes on areas that needed updating. When I was done, I stripped and shifted. There was a stack of paperwork sitting on my desk at home that I wasn't looking forward to, but that was the job. If I did it right, I could cut that stack in half before I had to meet my sister. Shifting at the edge of the trees, I dressed and made my way inside. My enhanced hearing caught snippets of conversations in the pack house, mostly snide remarks about Conor and pity for his ex-mate. But a lot of it was praise for Lily. I smiled, carrying that smile all the way to my office. Going through paperwork didn't even seem as tedious as it normally was today. I signed off on some permits to build new homes, went through a whole pile of submitted complaints. Half an hour before I had to leave, Ben popped in, envelope in hand. Whatever it is, just put it with the others. I said. I think you'll want to read this one, actually. He set it in front of me. Curiosity got the better of me, but when I opened it, I groaned loudly. Already? Didn't I just attend this stupid thing? It was the annual invite to the Alpha's ball. I loathed those functions. Always I would have to contend with she-wolves throwing themselves at me, sometimes literally. You have to go. You know that. Ben took the chair opposite me, propping his feet on my desk. A whole night of dealing with arrogant alphas pushing their daughters in my direction, and dealing with entitled Lunas. I can't wait. I rolled my eyes. Remember Tina? Ben chuckled. A shudder ran through me as I vividly recounted the hawk-like Luna of the night desert pack. She'd spent a full hour bragging about her daughter, only to introduce me to a girl half my age. As politely as one could manage, I tried to explain I wasn't looking to end up in jail, and she'd thrown wine in my face. The woman was off her rocker. Can't you just attend for me this year? It'll be different this time. You have a Luna now. That brought me up short. Would Lily want to go with me? If she didn't, did that mean I still had to go? I know what you're thinking, and the answer is yes. Ben said. All. I groaned again. Hey, where are you? Their mind linked me, it was 6:15. I've got to go, I'm meeting Thera. Don't RSVP yet, not until I know if Lily will go with me. I told Ben as I left the office. I caught his look of surprise on the way out, but ignored it. I'm on my way, I was in a meeting with Ben. The fountain we met up at was a short walk from the hospital. Patients like to take walks in the garden surrounding it, or sit and read on one of the benches around it. It was one of our mother's favorite places to go, though I never understood why. Still, it meant something to me for that reason alone, and I often visited when I missed my parents. When I arrived, Thera was sitting on the bench nearest the rose bushes, still dressed in her work clothes. Hey! Finally! I'm tired, you know. Sorry. I sat next to her, taking in the bags under her eyes and her unwashed hair. You look like St. I commented and she punched my arm. Shut it. You okay? I just haven't been sleeping well lately. I never do, around this time. She gazed towards the fountain and sadness pierced my heart. The anniversary of our parents' death was coming up, something neither of us liked to think about, but couldn't avoid. Every year we went together to their graves and laid flowers, telling them about our lives. I hadn't had much to say the last few years, or nothing I thought they'd be proud of me for anyways. Anyways, you wanted to talk. She changed the subject, and I was grateful. Yet. It's about Lily. Thera narrowed her eyes at me. What about her? Well, you two spend time together, and I was thinking today, she probably needs some stuff, right? Like girl stuff. Girl stuff. Whatever it is you buy when you go shopping. She raised an eyebrow at me. What? I asked. Are you talking about tampons? What? No. I meant like underwear or makeup. I defended. Thera burst into laughter. I didn't get the joke. Sorry bro, when you said girl stuff, well, that's girl code for tampons or pads. Can you please stop saying that? She chuckled. Typical male. So, can you take her shopping? And get her a phone too. I would have thought you'd be the one to do that. Why would I want to spend all day looking at girls' clothes? I thought you loved shopping. She gave me a look that I didn't understand. Dimitri, Lily has never been shopping. I stared at her. Ever. Ever. I couldn't tell you what the girl needs because she doesn't know. She's never owned anything like that before, she was never allowed to go shopping. Thera explained. I sat back, taking in her words. Truly, I hadn't thought about Lily's life before coming here in the last few weeks. Mostly because she was doing so much better. She never brought it up, and I never asked. The memory of what she looked like before she shifted played in my mind, resurfacing old anger. She told you this? I asked. Thera nodded. She's been more open lately. There are things she absolutely refuses to talk about, and she won't give details about anything, but from what I've learned from working with her is that she didn't have much of a life outside of cleaning of cooking. No toys, no vacations, no privileges. I bought her a chocolate bar 2 weeks ago, and I swear she turned into a 5-year-old eating candy for the first time. After I finally got her to accept it, that is. A new sadness pinged in my heart, this time for my mate. Hadn't she been at Snow Moon since she was a kid? How could she never have experienced playing with toys, or eating a chocolate bar? How cruel was that pack? You promised you'd look into this, when she first came here. Have you? My sister demanded now. I shook my head and her face fell. I'm sorry. I will, I promise. I've had a lot on my mind. And well, I guess I didn't think about it. She's better. She looks better. Mentally, I'm still not sure. There are days I catch her in her own world, looking miserable. I've asked, but like I said, she doesn't talk about it. Looking sideways at me, she continued, talking to her mate might be helpful though. If she doesn't talk to you, why would she talk to me? Thera shrugged. Maybe she will, or maybe she won't. But you're her mate. You're supposed to be there for her. You never know until you try. And lately, it seems like you might want to try. I gave her a sharp look, and she gave it right back to me. I'm not dumb, Dimitri. You're much less of the LE you were before. You're even sort of nice to people now. And twice I've caught you smiling for no reason at meals. So, stop being a pussy, and for once, maybe try to go after the thing that's making you happy. You know me too well. It's annoying. I grumbled. She laughed and mussed my hair. You're my brother, and I love you. And I love Lily. I want you both to be happy. Together we sat and looked out at the gardens and fountain, lost in our own thoughts. Something inside me told me that I was getting ready to move on, to let go of my anger at my past. And part of me really hoped I had my mate waiting on the other side of that journey. Luke POV. Let's go, guys. What am I doing out here, wasting my time? Let's go. I hollered to the group. 2 of the 10 looked ready to puke, and I could only hope they pulled through. Nick led another group on the far side of the field, looking worn out and utterly unhappy. Training potential warriors was always a daunting task. They either had it, or they didn't, and judging by the look of Need's group, most of them didn't have it. Gamma, can we take a break? Please. A fairly chunky boy named Greg was standing before me, hands on knees and sweating profusely. Finished your laps? The look on his face gave me my answer. Then no. Get going. I waved him off. I groaned out loud when, 5 minutes later, he stopped Micron and vomited on the track. It looks like you're having so much fun out here. Sparks shot through me as my mate's arms snared around my waist, his chin resting on my shoulder. It just got more fun, now that you're here. Miguel chuckled and kissed my neck. I caught Ned scowling at us and I shot him the bird. Out of everyone, he was the only one who wasn't at all surprised when my mate turned out to be a guy. I guess it was because he'd walked in on me and Dimitri's cousin once, though I swore him to secrecy. What are you doing out here? I asked Miguel. I just missed you. And I was a little curious. Your pack trains differently than mine did. His eyes held a hint of sadness whenever he mentioned his old pack. I knew he missed them a lot, and I was forever grateful that Dimitri had accepted him so easily into Blood Moon. It had been a tense meeting at first, but once Miguel recounted how his pack was all but decimated by rogues, Dimitri and Ben welcomed him with open arms. Dimitri exchanged the traditional oaths and blood that morning, officially making Miguel a Blood Moon member. We train hard. But these guys aren't warriors yet. I eyed Greg, sitting on the edge of the track, green-faced. Are you close to finishing? Almost. Why? You wanted to train together. He ran one hand down my spine, making me shiver. I had a different type of training in mind actually. This man could get going me in seconds. I gazed at his face, struck anew by how lucky I was. Shoulder-length black hair, beautifully tanned skin that commented his chocolate eyes, and lips to die for. He was a few inches shorter than me, and his body would make a lesser man drool. Miguel was perfect. Oh yeah? So that's the real reason you came out here, Possibly. I love that you can't get enough of me. I pulled his hair lightly. I never will. So maybe you could end your session? I think that one's about to pass out anyway. He pointed to Greg and I shook my head. All right, we're done for today. Go take a shower. I called and the resounding sighs of relief filled the air. You're leaving? Ned called. Yup. You can stay if you want though. We're done. He shouted to his group, making me laugh. Come. I think you need a shower too. Miguel took my hand. The chance at spending time with my mate was too good to pass up. So I let him lead me back to our room where he proceeded to push me onto the bed. I thought I was showering. After our training. I have a feeling we'll both be sweating by the time it's done. The things this man did to me, I swear. Let's get started then. Grabbing his hand, I pulled him on top of me, pressing my lips to his. He moaned, yanking my hair to get better access. We started undressing each other, eager to have skin on skin. He ran his hand down my chest, leaving a trail of tingles. I bit his lower lip, earning a growl. Easy there, tiger, he said. I'm just getting started. Lying him down, I flipped him onto his stomach and straddled him. I bent down and started leaving soft kisses across his shoulders, over his neck. I looked proudly down at my mark on him, before giving it a soft bite. Luke. I can't believe you interrupted me at work. I rubbed my tip against his ass. I could lose my job. Shame. You'd have to spend all your time here with me. A tempting offer, actually. I lifted his hips. You are very tempting. Grabbing the bottle of lube we kept, I slowly applied it. Thoroughly. I was so hard by this point, it was almost painful. Once I was sure he was ready, I edged into him, inch by inch. His hands tightened on the sheets, a low moan reaching my ears. The sparks from our bond only enhanced the feeling of being inside him, and I loved every second. Keeping a firm grip on his waist, I started to move in and out. The feeling was incredible. Goddess Luke. Miguel adjusted to all fours, a position I was more than happy to accommodate. Reaching around, I started stroking him while I pumped my hips. Guttural moans sounded from both of us, echoing off the walls. It was a good thing all the rooms in the pack house were soundproof. Turn around. I breathed. We adjusted again, him lying beneath me. He looked at me with pure, unfiltered lust and I almost came right there. Slamming my lips to his, we moved together in a fusion of sweat, moans and heavy breathing. His hand hit my stomach as he worked himself under me, and I was so close. I'm close. I whispered. Me too. A few thrusts later, we finished together, and I collapsed on top of him. He kissed my shoulder. You are amazing. He muttered. I know. I replied and he chuckled. I love you, Luke. I met his eyes, shining with his declaration. My heart burst with happiness. He loved me. I love you too, Miguel. We grinned at each other. Finally, I retracted from him, but kept him close, snuggling in bed together. I felt like the luckiest person in the whole universe right now. Did this moment have to end? I hoped it didn't. I was content to stay this way forever. Luke. Will you meet my parents? I raised my head. I thought. They are dead. But I would like to take you to their grave. They would have loved you, as I do. I know they would. Of course, Miguel. Anything for you. Thank you. He gave me a soft kiss. I lay my head on his chest while he played with my hair. What were they like? I asked hesitantly. He paused shortly before answering. They were incredible. The kindest people out there, ready to give the shirt off their back if need be. Mother made the best pecan pie. The neighbors used to come by, bringing her the ingredients just so she would make one. He laughed. My father could have been a comedian, everywhere he went, he made people laugh. He used to tell me jokes when I was sad or angry, and it always made me feel better. He was a true gentleman too, always showing my mother how much she loved him. I always hoped I could be half the mate he was. They really loved each other. You are more than half the mate you want to be. You are everything to me. The day I met you was the happiest day of my life, and every day since. I told him. I feel the same for you. I am glad you asked me about them. I have fond memories of them I haven't thought of in a long time. Whenever you want, you can talk to me. They sounded like amazing people. Thank you. He said again. I felt someone trying to mind link me. You left training early? Dimitri asked. Yup. Why? To tell my mate I loved him. Okay. He cut off the link, no reprimands, no scolding. So unlike him. I sent up a silent prayer to the moon goddess that Lily and Dimitri could experience what I had. Lily POV Dimitri landed on top of me, his hand around my throat. I pushed him off, groaning. Where are you today? That's the 10th time I've taken you down. I scowled at him. I'm just not in the mood. It was just us today. Carla was on border patrol, and I was silently grateful. She'd have my head if she saw how badly I was slacking off this morning. I couldn't focus on anything it seemed. Nightmares had invaded my mind all night, making me feel like I hadn't slept at all. My subconscious kept dredging up my past, making me relive it almost every night. I was exhausted from the effort of trying to deal with it. Dimitri pursed his lips. You want to talk about it? I shook my head. He sat next to me. If you're not up for training, what do you want to do? I don't know. Why don't we go somewhere? You mean, a run? No. You and me, why don't we go do something together? I stared at him, unblinking. Did he just ask me out? You want to do something? Yes. With me. Together. I clarified. Yes. Why? He shrugged. Why not? I could voice 100 reasons to that. The only times we spent together, ever, were training and letting our wolves out. We were speaking more, I guess, and considerably more civil with each other. But going out together? Was this even Dimitri next to me? Where? I asked. Where would you like to go? Was he being considerate? Had this man killed my mate and taken his place? I don't know any places here. I haven't gone out much. He thought for a minute. I know somewhere. Let's go. He stood and held his hand out to me. I stared at it, confused. You're serious about this? Do I look like I'm joking? Hesitantly, I took his hand and he pulled me up. The whole time I followed him back to the pack house, I searched for any giveaways to say this guy wasn't Dimitri Carlos. He looked like him, and his scent was the same. Perhaps I was still in bed, dreaming? I wouldn't consider this a nightmare, not yet. I looked around, waiting for monsters to come from the forest. Something to prove I wasn't awake. He led me to a red Mustang parked in the drive. Pulling out a set of keys, he unlocked the car, motioning for me to get in. Shouldn't I change first? I was having déjà vu. This was like our first encounter, right after our wedding. You don't have to, not where we're going. That response wasn't like the first time. He almost sounded nice. I got in the car, buckling my seatbelt. We drove for about 30 minutes and I couldn't stop staring at him. He turned on the radio, drumming his fingers along with the music, and I think I was slowly going into shock. Why are you staring at me? Who are you? I asked. What do you mean? I mean, who are you and what have you done with the real Dimitri? He smirked and glanced at me as he turned a corner. I'm right here, Lily. You didn't want to train, and I don't want to go to do paperwork. This is me trying to do something nice, for once. Can you just go with it? I'm not sure. I'm still deciding if this is real or not. Well, if you decide it's not, then stop thinking about it and just have some fun with me. Okay. Fun? He knew how to have fun? Yeah, this totally wasn't real. Sure. Good, because we're here. He turned off the ignition, and I finally looked around. Oh my goddess! You brought me to the beach. I did. Sand dunes rose in front of us, a small sand-covered walkway cutting through. I could hear waves crashing distantly and looked up to see gulls flying overhead. The air smelled sweet and fresh, with a hint of the salty ocean. I'd dreamed of being able to come here, a small wish that was never granted. I unbuckled my seatbelt in a hurry, eager to see what I'd missed out on. Whether or not this was real, I didn't care anymore. Dimitri followed me as I made my way. I stopped at the end of the path, taking it all in. The sun shining down on the sand, the water. The white tips of the waves before they met the sand. Patches of light green seaweed were dotted near the shore, contrasting with the unbelievably blue water. I could make out a few boats far off, possibly people out fishing. I quickly discarded my shoes and socks and stepped onto the sand, surprised by how warm it was. The grains dipped between my toes as my feet sank in, and I loved the feeling. Grinning, I grabbed Dimitri's hand, pulling him with me. The sparks erupted at our contact, but for once, I didn't ignore them. It only made this experience better. I walked straight to the water, looking in to see small fish swimming around near the shore. Various types of shells were settled in the sand below the water as well, glistening between waves. There were so many things I wanted to do, I couldn't pick just one. So I decided to start with the basic. I turned to Dimitri. You're going to build a sandcastle with me? Right now? Am I? Yes. Let's go. We settled down with the sun on our backs, and got to work. It wasn't the best, in fact it wasn't even great. Dimitri was my go-to guy for running to the water's edge to get the finely packed sand. Together, we constructed an oddly shaped, slightly slanting sandcastle. I wiped my hands together, satisfied with it all the same. What now? He asked. Now, we destroy it. He chuckled, but he helped me kick our creation until there was nothing left. I giggled the whole time. Come with me. I took his hand and let him pull me this time. We walked past the many sand dunes to an area where the beach was less sand and more rock. A jagged cliff loomed over us, casting a shadow onto the water. Dimitri led me around the bottom of the cliff to a space where the rocks flattened out into a large open circle. It was filled with small and big pools of water, and when he stopped beside one, I gasped. Inside was what seemed to be a mini ocean. Tiny fish swam around, and starfish clung to the rocks. A crab peered at me, seemingly confused. Barnacles covered the sides and bottom, and bright, colorful anemones swayed back and forth. I walked to the next pool, astounded that so much life could fit in such a tiny amount of water. What are these? I asked Dimitri. They're called tide pools. They're pretty, hey. They're beautiful. Kneeling down, I examined the little wildlife zoo in front of me more carefully. It was incredible. Dimitri knelt beside me and pointed. See that there? He pointed to an odd slug-looking thing. Is that some kind of plant? It's a sea cucumber. Seriously? It looks nothing like a cucumber. He chuckled. I didn't name it, I just know what it is. Dried sea cucumbers are actually a delicacy in many Asian cultures. I wrinkled my nose. You know this because you've had it. I have. It's not as good as it's made out to be, in my opinion. I try everything once. But you're right, it was pretty gross. I laughed at the look on his face. We stayed and examined each pool, Dimitri pointing out different creatures and giving interesting details about them. He educated me on how you should never pick up a starfish, as it could cause them to suffocate, and how to handle a hermit crab. I picked up various shells that had washed up on the rocks, which ended up in Dimitri's pockets since I was wearing leggings. Once we got back to the main beach, I put them in my shoes so I wouldn't lose them. Swimming? I asked him excitedly. No point in coming to the beach if you're not going into the water, right? I don't know about that. It's been pretty amazing so far. He smiled and my breath caught. Race you? I suggested. You're on. I took off towards the water with him on my heels. I think he let me win, but I didn't care. I jumped into the water, relishing in the coolness on my skin. I waded in until it was just above my waist, unsure about going further. Where did it drop off? Hey, where does the water? I was interrupted by a splash of water to my face. Hey! Dimitri grinned at me, and I immediately splashed him back. You're an ass. I laughed. Just trying to give you the full beach experience. I chased him around and it didn't take long until we were both soaked and laughing like kids. It was a side of him I'd never seen, but would really like to see more often. He ducked underwater and out of my sight, only to appear right in front of me. I knocked water into his face and he coughed. That's what you get for cheating. I laughed. Come here you. His arms snaked around my waist as he lifted me up, flushing my body against his. My arms went around his neck for something to hold onto, bringing our faces very close together. My heart picked up speed as we looked at each other, the waves moving around our bodies effortlessly. Did you have fun today? The most. Thank you, so much, for bringing me here. It was the best. You're welcome. I think I needed it too, to be honest. But it was more for you. He tucked a stray piece of hair behind my ear, his hand lingering on my cheek. Unconsciously, I leaned into his touch. He looked into my eyes, and all I wanted was for him to kiss me. His gaze dropped to my lips, his eyes darkening a little. But then he let me go. Disappointment flooded through me, but I kept my face neutral. We should head home. I still have that paperwork to do. Okay. We left the water and grabbed our stuff. I tried not feel bad, because at the end of the day, this was still one of the best days of my life. And I got to share it with my mate, which somehow made it better. So as we drove back home, I leaned my head against the window, a light smile on my face. I would never forget today. The rest of the audiobooks will be uploaded in the next episode. Join us on Patreon to listen to more unlimited audiobooks.